The Rachael DelTondo murder case is one of the most perplexing and controversial criminal investigations in recent years, filled with layers of mystery, allegations of corruption, and numerous unresolved questions. DelTondo's life, death, and the subsequent investigation have exposed the undercurrents of small-town politics, law enforcement misconduct, and the complexities of justice. So sit down, grab yourself a mocha, as we dive into the case of Rachael DelTondo. Rachael DelTondo was a 33-year-old teacher residing in Aliquippa, Pennsylvania, a close-knit town that would later become the center of an intense investigation following her untimely death. DelTondo was employed by the Pennsylvania Cyber Charter School, where she was well regarded by colleagues and students alike. Her life took a dramatic turn in February 2016 when Aliquippa police officers found her in a parked car that appeared steamy with a 17-year-old former student in the parking lot of an abandoned building at around 2 a.m. Both DelTondo and the teenager, who was not identified due to his minor status at the time, claimed that nothing inappropriate had taken place. DelTondo asserted that she was simply trying to help the teenager who had reached out to her for advice. The police did not file any charges against DelTondo, and the incident seemed to be resolved. However, the situation would resurface with severe consequences. In late 2017, a police report detailing the 2016 incident was anonymously leaked to local media, resulting in a public scandal. This leak not only led to DelTondo's suspension from her teaching position, but also sparked significant media scrutiny. The fact that such a sensitive document was leaked raised serious concerns about breaches of confidentiality within the Aliquippa Police Department. Rachael DelTondo's relationship with her ex-fiancé, Frank Catroppa, adds another layer of complexity to the already intricate case. Frank Catroppa is a well-regarded businessman in Aliquippa, known for his successful ventures and deep ties within the community. His father, a respected retired police officer, further cemented the Catroppa family's prominent status in the town. Rachael and Frank had been engaged, but their relationship ended before her death, reportedly under strained circumstances. Frank's involvement in the case became even more contentious when it was revealed that he had managed to obtain the sensitive police report from the 2016 incident involving Rachael and a minor. According to reports, Frank walked into the Aliquippa police station and requested the paperwork, which was handed over to him without hesitation. The casual response from one officer, "It's Frankie, just give it to him," underscored the influence Frank wielded within the community and the police department. This police report, which detailed the night Rachael was found with the minor, was not actually written until almost a year after the incident occurred. Suspiciously, the report's creation coincided with the time it was leaked to the media, sparking a scandal that led to Rachael's suspension from her teaching position. The timing of the report's creation and the leak raised serious concerns about the motivations behind its release and the role of the police department in the subsequent events that followed. In the days leading up to her murder, Rachael was scheduled to testify before a grand jury about corruption within the Aliquippa Police Department, a critical piece of information that could have significant implications for individuals within the department and possibly beyond. This looming testimony placed her in a precarious position, potentially making her a target for those who feared the exposure of unlawful activities. These details only deepened the suspicions and controversies surrounding the investigation into Rachael DelTondo's murder, leaving many to wonder whether more powerful forces were at play in this tragic case. On the night of May 13, 2018, Mother's Day, Rachael DelTondo was brutally murdered in the driveway of her parents' home. She had spent the evening out with friends, including Watkins, another 17-year-old student of hers, and had just been dropped off at her residence when the attack occurred. At approximately 10:44 p.m., DelTondo was shot multiple times with what was later identified as a .40 caliber semi-automatic handgun. The nature of the attack suggested it was premeditated, with the killer waiting for DelTondo to return home before ambushing her. The murder weapon was not found at the scene, and the lack of witnesses made the investigation particularly challenging. Despite the immediate and thorough search for evidence, no arrests were made in the days, weeks, and eventually months following the murder. The investigation into DelTondo's murder quickly became mired in controversy, particularly concerning the role of the Aliquippa Police Department. The leaking of the 2016 police report was the first major point of suspicion, leading to allegations of corruption within the department. This incident suggested that someone within the police force had a vested interest in tarnishing DelTondo's reputation, or possibly intimidating her. Prior to her tragic death, Rachael DelTondo confided in several family members, including her mother and aunt, about her growing fears that she was being followed by the police. She expressed to them on multiple occasions that she believed law enforcement officers were monitoring her movements, a suspicion that weighed heavily on her mind as she prepared to testify before a grand jury about alleged corruption within the Aliquippa Police Department. Rachel's increasing anxiety about being watched raised alarming questions. Was this merely paranoia stemming from the pressure of her impending testimony, or was this something more sinister at play? Adding to her fears, Rachael received a chilling text message from an unknown number, warning her that she would not live to see the end of 2018. This ominous message further heightened her sense of unease, leading her to believe that she was in real danger. Despite these disturbing signs, Rachael continued with her life, though her concerns about being targeted grew stronger as the date of her testimony approached. The combination of her belief that she was being followed, the menacing text message, and the proximity of her scheduled testimony posed unsettling possibilities. Was Rachel's fear a result of intense stress, or was she generally being targeted by those who wanted to silence her? These haunting questions remain unanswered, deepening the mystery surrounding her murder and the murky connections between her death and the broader web of corruption in Aliquippa. One of the most perplexing aspects of the Rachael DelTondo case was the rapid turnover of the chief investigator within the first week of the investigation. Over just 7 days, the lead investigator role changed 3 times. The initial investigator assigned to the case was Lieutenant Kenneth Watkins of the Aliquippa Police Department. His appointment quickly became controversial because Watkins is the father of Lauren Watkins, the last person to have seen DelTondo alive. This clear conflict of interest due to the family connection led to Watkins being removed from the case. Following Watkins' removal, Sergeant Michael DiGiacomo, also from the Aliquippa Police Department, took over the investigation. However, the sergeant's time as lead investigation was notably brief. He was suspended after sending an explicit video to Lauren Watkins. He claimed it was a mistake and that he had accidentally sent the video to the wrong person. His suspension raised concerns about his professionalism and suitability for handling such a high-profile case. The investigation was then reassigned to Detective Captain Robert Sealock, also from the Aliquippa Police Department. Sealock, with a more extensive background in criminal investigations, was seen as a more competent choice for leading the case. Despite this, the rapid succession of investigators within such a short period cast doubts on the investigation's competence and transparency, leading the public and media questioning the true reasons behind these frequent changes. One of the most discussed individuals in connection with the case is Sheldon Jeter, a young man who was reportedly close to DelTondo. Jeter's name appeared in the leaked 2016 police report, and he was known to have been in frequent contact with DelTondo in the months leading up to her death. Some reports suggested that Jeter had an unreciprocated romantic interest in DelTondo. In the months leading up to her murder, her relationship with Sheldon Jeter took a troubling turn, marked by increasing tension, jealousy, and possessiveness on Jeter's part. The situation became particularly volatile after Rachael began dating his half-brother, a development that seemed to provoke intense emotions in Jeter. Although they were not biologically related fully, this new relationship stirred feelings of jealousy in Jeter, who had developed an obsessive attachment to Rachael. One incident truly showed the depth of Jeter's possessiveness. Late one evening, Jeter showed up at Rachel's home unannounced and visibly intoxicated. In a fit of anger or desperation, he began banging on every single window around the house, demanding to be let in. His aggressive behavior frightened Rachael and her family, leading to a tense standoff. Fearing for their safety, Rachel's mother grabbed an air pistol to scare him off. Only then did Sheldon finally leave the property, but the incident left a lasting impression on Rachael and her family. This episode was a stark illustration of Jeter's escalating obsession and erratic behavior, which added another layer of complexity to the dynamics surrounding Rachael's life and death. These actions raised serious concerns about how far his jealousy might go, especially as Rachael's relationship with his half-brother became more serious. It also added to the growing sense of unease that Rachael had been feeling in the months leading up to her murder, as she navigated not only external threats, but also the unpredictable and increasingly dangerous behavior of someone who had once been close to her. Despite being a person of interest, Jeter has consistently denied any involvement in the murder. It was almost 2 years to the day after Rachael was killed, May 15, 2020, that another trip for ice cream ended in death. This time, the victim was Tyric Pugh, whom Sheldon Jeter and Michael Moreland consider family. Pugh was with Jeter and Moreland at Bruster's for ice cream earlier that day. Once again, Sheldon Jeter's relationship with the victim put the attention back on him. Investigators were at his door the night Pugh was killed after they discovered Pugh's driver's license listed his address as the same residence where Jeter lived. Moreland confirmed that Pugh lived with them on and off. Jeter willingly spoke with investigators about his whereabouts the night Pugh was killed, but surveillance footage told a different story. Cameras captured Jeter and Tyric Pugh leaving home together and Jeter returning alone. A motorist discovered Pugh's body and called 911. Like Rachael DelTondo, he had been shot multiple times. Jeter spoke with investigators again the next day, this time at the police station. During the interview, a search warrant was executed at Jeter's house and a gun was found under his mattress. The State Police Crime Lab examined the weapon and examined the evidence from the crime scene and determined in the report that the weapon fired the rounds responsible for Tyric Pugh's death. Sheldon Jeter went on trial for the murder of Tyric Pugh in June 2021. He was found guilty of murdering his friend and is serving a life sentence.
Well, Judge Kim Tesla has just sentenced Sheldon Jeter to life imprisonment without parole in the shooting death of Tyric Pugh. The judge just a little while ago imposing the maximum sentence for first-degree murder under state guidelines. This after denying Jeter's attorney's request for a mistrial in the case. As we've been reporting, the defense has maintained that the verdict was tainted because it was later found out that one of the jurors lived next door to the Rachael DelTondo family, and Jeter is a well-publicized person of interest in that homicide. Judge Tesla said this was not cause for a mistrial and said there was overwhelming evidence against Jeter in Pugh's death. He then sentenced him to first-degree murder, life without parole. Now, his attorney, Jeter's attorney, Michael Santacola, disappointed in the sentencing and disappointed that the judge denied his motion for a mistrial, but says that he will appeal it in post-trial motions.
However, did he kill Tyric Pugh? Why would Sheldon Jeter have a gun when he knew he was under suspicion for Rachael DelTondo's death? Given that Lauren Watkins was the last person to see DelTondo alive, she and her family were also subject to intense scrutiny. The Watkins family is well known in Aliquippa, and the initial involvement of Lieutenant Kenneth Watkins in the investigation only fueled suspicions.
There are still no charges in Rachael DelTondo's murder, as police investigators are painstakingly recreating the events of her final hours, now focusing on the statements of her 17-year-old girlfriend, Lauren Watkins, one of the last people to see her alive. According to her statements to police, Watkins spent virtually the entire night with DelTondo. The two went to the Circle K convenience store together and later picked up Sheldon Jeter's brother, Tyric. The three then went to Hank's frozen custard stand in New Brighton before driving back to Aliquippa. According to her statement, Lauren Watkins says she and Tyric Jeter dropped DelTondo off at her mother's house at approximately 10:44 p.m. and then drove off, stating that she saw no assailant nor heard any gunshots. At 10:48 p.m., Aliquippa police received a report of gunfire. But Lauren Watkins told police that she was driving Tyric Jeter home when her mother contacted her and told her to come home. According to sources close to the investigation, police have questioned this version of events from the beginning and now have redoubled their efforts to determine if there are any discrepancies. To that end, they have confiscated Laura Watkins' cell phone, and they have executed this search warrant on her mother, Stephanie Watkins' private Facebook account. As of today, police have executed warrants on the Facebook accounts of Sheldon Jeter, Lauren Watkins, and her mother, Stephanie, asking for all communications and private messages from May 11th through May 15th, 2 days before the murder until 2 days after the murder. Police have also sent Laura Watkins' cell phone and the cell phones of Sheldon and Tyric Jeter to a private lab in Harrisburg for analysis. While there's no indication that she is a suspect, police continue to question the actions of Lauren Watkins.
However, no concrete evidence has linked Lauren Watkins or her family to the murder. As of the most recent updates, Rachael DelTondo's murder remains unsolved. Despite numerous interviews, forensic analysis, and the involvement of various law enforcement agencies, no one has been charged with her murder. The Aliquippa Police Department has been criticized for its handling of the case, and the FBI has also been involved in aspects of the investigation, though no breakthrough has been made. The DelTondo case remains a haunting example of the complexities and challenges of solving crimes in small communities, where personal connections and local dynamics can obscure the truth. That is all for the Rachael DelTondo case. Don't forget to subscribe so you're notified about my next true crime case, and like the video if you really did like the video. Also, comment down below your opinions on this case, along with any others you would like me to look into. It could be my next one.